So are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji. Very clear.
Okay. So this chapter is titled Attaining the Supreme. It's part of a Bhakti Yoga section, Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna talks about a very important topic, death. In fact, this is part of many traditions, not just in India. Everywhere, death is remembered across the world in various cultures through different festivals. For example, in Mexico, there is Day of Death. Even in here, what is it? Pumpkin pie we make, right? What is the festival?
Halloween.
Halloween also is a way to remember the time of death. So it's a sign of sanity and wisdom to contemplate on death. That's the reason, because that's a fact of life, and many of us may not, remember, in our active life. So it's explicitly made so that people remember, the importance of this incident of life, and it's going to happen for everyone. So it's like a reality check, something that nobody wants, but everyone must experience as part of their life, isn't it? Everyone who is born has to experience death in their life. Bhagavad Gita 13:9, where Krishna delineates the 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 talks about a person in knowledge, and as part of that he says, one who is able to perceive the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, he is considered to be in knowledge. It's a sign of knowledge. So janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshana darshanam. Right? So the reason is we always forget the inevitability of death, and it's an important topic. And so Krishna gives this entire topic of discussion in Bhagavad Gita. He deals in full detail, the consciousness at the time of death, and how yogis of different types go through different spiritual practices so that they can attain the supreme at the time of death. So it's considered that life is preparation, and it is mentioned that life is a preparation, death is an examination. So it's a very important incident of life. So Krishna delineates in this chapter in depth about what happens at the time of death and how one can achieve perfection by leading a spiritual life, while he is living in this world. So he deals in detail. He deals this very subject in detail in this chapter. This chapter can be the acronym for this chapter is given by Suttapa Prabhu. Is dead, D-E-A-D. D stands for doubts, because the chapter begins with questions by Arjuna. E stands for end of life. A stands for attaining the supreme. D stands for devotion. So the chapter begins with questions by Arjuna. We'll discuss those questions. And Krishna explains what happens at the end of life and the importance of end of life. And as part of life, what different yogis practice to attain the supreme, as the third section. And finally, Krishna delineates about the subject of devotion, the path of bhakti, and the importance of bhakti over other processes. This in a nutshell is the topics of the chapter, four topics. So the first topic is doubts. So when as just with any other chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Arjun opens with questions about some spiritual concepts. Krishna answers them in one line. Most of the questions he asks, actually 8 questions. 7 of them were, immediately answered in one line, and then Krishna spends the rest of the chapter answering the 8th question. So the 8th question is, how can one attain spiritual destination at the time of death? That is the detailed topic in this chapter. So these are the questions, just to quickly go through that. So Arjuna asks, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? What are demigods, or who are demigods? And who are lords of who is the Lord of sacrifice, and how does he live in the world? Paramatma, how does he live in the world? And finally, how can those engaged in devotion service know you at the time of death? So these are the 8 questions asked by Arjuna in the first few verses. And Krishna answers each of them. Krishna answers by saying the indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahman. We know these concepts, so I'll just go through that. If you have a question, you can discuss. So his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. Actions pertaining to the development of material body of the living entities is called karma, of fruitive activities. So karma is the one that awards us the body, physical body. The physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called Adibhuta. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all demigods like those of the sun and moon, is called Adideva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as a super soul in the heart of every embodied being, I am called Adi Yajna. So Krishna defined Adibhuta, Adideva, and Adi Yajna. Adibhuta is the physical nature. Adideva, Adidaiva is the universal form of the Lord and the demigods. And then finally, Adi Yajna is God himself.
One question, like there are 3-fold miseries, right? And they are referred to as Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika. Are they related to the, can we connect the same things here?
No, the wording is similar, but they are completely different. They are very close. Adi Daiva, Adi Daivika are the problems caused by nature, right? So you can say, word wise, you can mean the same. The Adi Daivika set of miseries are imposed by, the divine nature, right? So Adi Daiva refers to demigods and the universal form of the Lord. So in a way, the Sanskrit words mean what they say, but here specifically, Krishna refers to these 3 terms, right? Adi Yajna means Lord himself, Adi Deva means demigods, and Adi Bhuta is physical nature. There is Adhyatma, Adi,
Adhyatmika means like our own nature.
Mind, our own mind and
body.
Adi Daivika is outside nature, right? Divine nature. Adi, like floods and all. Adi Bhautika is the physical nature.
Yeah.
Adi Daivika is other
living entities. In this case, that is part of the universal form, isn't it? So of the Lord.
Yeah.
It includes all other, including the demigods.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So interestingly, when questions are asked by Arjuna, Krishna never felt, hey, don't ask me questions here. He was excited every time Arjuna asks a question and he answers very nicely. So doubts are natural for all of us. We all get questions. Right? So how do we develop our faith? If we have doubts, we must address them. That's the only way. So the practical lesson from this particular section, first for 5 verses, is that we should seek knowledge, especially of the personality of Godhead, and associate with those people who already went on this path ahead of us. Association of devotees, clarify our doubts, and finally, experience itself. Right? Once you experience through your own spiritual practices, that's going to clarify our doubts. So we should seek knowledge through study of scriptures, through hearing, shravanam, and associate with like-minded, associate with devotees who are ahead of us, and finally, practice ourselves sincerely. Then it becomes an experience, a part of our life, right? So this is the practical lessons in this particular section of this chapter. Any questions so far? Okay, we'll move on. End of life. Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
I just wanted to share. I'm sure you will probably connect the dots here. But Maharaj today was talking about that Bhagavatam 2.1.6 is exactly related to this. I'm sure you probably know that verse. Let me just. It's about what is the end goal after.
Yeah, I was hearing Maharaj actually from inside the altar.
Okay, so it says the 2.1.6, the Bhagavatam says the highest perfection of human life
Yeah.
achieved by complete knowledge of matter, spirit, by practice of mystic. Yeah.
Or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of God at the end of life. The Ante Narayana Smriti. Maharaj quotes this often.
Yeah, I just wanted to
All of
bring
everything
this.
we do,
Hmm.
the practice of mystic powers, discharge of occupational duties. This is karma yoga. This is um, yoga practices, right? So ultimately, whatever we do, the goal is to remember, Lord at the end of life. Yeah, even this particular chapter completely is dedicated to this topic. How we can remember Lord at the time of death.
Yes.
Yeah, so this topic, right? The section is called end of life, right? For suppose you went to a movie, right? You're going to movie. It has a suspense. It's a suspense thriller. There is a lot of suspense in the movie, and your friend already watched it, and so he says, he watched it, and he's with you, and you are about to go to movie and watch it, and he says, hey, you know what? You will never guess what happens, and he's going to about to tell that. What do? You're going to immediately stop him, right, from saying that, because the knowing the end will spoil the whole film, right? You won't experience that thriller, and there is nothing to nothing suspense about it. So you want to stop immediately that person. You don't want to hear what's going to come. So similarly, in the movie of life, people are engaged in so many ways, very busy, working on so many goals of life, right? Worldly pursuits. So for them to contemplate and accept the end is not the most inspiring reflection. So for them to contemplate and on the end is not the most inspiring reflection, because it simply spoils their movie of life in the here and now. So they want to actually just not think about. So all of us might have experienced, whenever we talk about Bhagavad Gita, or importance of life, you know death in general, right, with anybody outside, they immediately say, why are you talking about it? Because they don't want it. It's a depressing thought for most of the people. in this world, isn't it? Most of them don't want to hear. They want to hear about movies, like cricket stars, or soccer, or what's happening in the office. All things which are not really. That's what gives them joy. But they never want to talk about the topic of death, because that's going to take away everything. It's not the an inspiring reflection. They don't want to talk about it. But for a spiritualist, it's not the same. So it's not at all a depressing thought, because the concept of life and the purpose is far broader, because he knows the purpose of life, so he doesn't think of it as a depressing thought. Okay? He knows very well death is a certain thing. For one who is born in this body, in this middle world, death is going to be certain. So Krishna explains how a person's thoughts of death, some of their consciousness and aspirations cultivated throughout life. It's not that at the time of death you're going to suddenly remember God and enjoy all through your life without practicing the remembrance of God. It's not going to happen that way. So whatever thoughts that come at the time of death is based on how you spend all your life. So one state of mind at the time of death determines his next situation, but what's in one's mind is determined by what he has done throughout his life, because it's going to play like a quick movie at the time of death, and all the things that you are strongly attached in your life in the past is going to be part of that film, and a snapshot is taken to the thing that you are most attached to, and that's going to define the template of your body for the next life. So that snapshot is going to determine, so that, because that's where your thoughts are. This is called the law of lost thoughts. LAST, last thoughts, means the law of lost thoughts says whatever state of mind one is in at the time of death, a snapshot of that is taken, and one's future life is determined by that. So Bhagavad Gita 8.5, we can all recite together. These are very important verses, so I just pasted them. Antakale ch mameva
Antakaale च मामेव
Smaran mukta kalevaram
स्मरन् मुक्ता कलेवरम्
prayati samadbhavam
याति मद्भावम्
jati nasti atra samsaya.
याति नास्ति अत्र संशयः.
And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone at once, attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So Krishna talks about how one can attain him. Only by remembering him. That's the only way. Yam vapi smaran bhavam
Smaran bhavam
chajat chante kalevaram
yajatante kalevaram
tam tam evaiti kaunteya
tam tam evaiti kaunteya
sada tadbhava bhavita.
sada tadbhava bhavitaha.
Can one of you read? Anyone?
Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
Yeah. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu
Tasmat
Sarveshu kaleshu
mamanusmara yudhya cha
Manusmara
yudhya cha
yati kamana
Maya Pita Manobuddhi
mamai vasyasi asamsaya.
Mamai
amai vashyasya samshaya.
Can anyone read?
I can read, Prabhu. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt.
Yeah, so this is the only way. Krishna says you have to always think of me. How is it possible to think of Krishna always? Question to all of you. Anybody wants to answer? How can we remember Krishna all the time? Like when you are cooking or when you are, working or driving, anything, right? So Krishna is saying, always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, carry out duty at the same time. So it's not like you do this prescribed duty focusedly and not think about me at the time. Krishna is saying,
Thinking about everyone is part and parcel of the Lord. That will help us to remind.
how do
Prabhuji,
you do that? How do you do that?
sometime back when we discussed, we reminded each other, like anytime anything that we are going to do, we first think that Krishna, I'm doing it for your pleasure,
Right,
or
right.
we offer that activity to
Very
Krishna.
good.
Cooking, think about I'm cooking for Krishna and I'm going to offer it to you, and then do that.
So think of me means, yeah, just before any activity we can think of it. So the other example that Lord Chaitanya gives, it's a externally it's not very pleasing to hear, but if suppose a woman has a paramour, she does all her duties at the home very nicely so that her husband doesn't doubt, right? But her mind is always on the paramour, how she can meet him, right? So that the crux of that example, I mean the story itself is not nice to hear. Why Lord Chaitanya gave that example is it's very easy to understand how a person's activities can be in one way, but the mind can be at a different place. Another example is Duryodhana, while he was in the battlefield, right? He was in the beginning when he was talking to, right? He was talking to his guru, Dronacharya. He talks about all the great warriors in the war, but he also always talks about Karna, because Karna is very prominently in his mind, though he's not in the battlefield because Bhishma is fighting right now. There was there was a war of words between Karna and Bhishma, and Karna says, "I'll never be there in the fight when you are still alive and fighting fighting in the battlefield." So because of that, Karna would not be there, but Karna is the hope for Duryodhana. If all of us are defeated, still Karna would win war against all these Pandavas. That's his hope, and so he was full of, in his mind, he's always there. So our activities can be, and with full attention we do the activities, but if we have love for something, that will be in the background always. Of course, at before Nishta stage, it is very difficult for us. So at least we can start by saying, Krishna, I'm doing this for you, and engage in our activities. But otherwise, that is how it works. If somebody loves Krishna, it's very natural for them to remember Krishna while they're doing anything, because they do everything. They're just like Lord Chaitanya. He was always crying for Krishna in every situation, right? He would see a small, he would see a normal tree and hug it as if it is Kadamba tree. So those experiences come because mind is full of Krishna. And he was shedding tears of love all the time out of his love for Krishna. So, but because that's his state of mind always. Krishna is asking for that. We need not be at that level, but at least we can begin with remembering Krishna before we begin our activities, and slowly as we develop real devotion, as we go through purification, then we may actually have that spontaneous love, right? We discussed spontaneous love in Nectar of Devotion. So when we develop that, then we will be able to naturally love Krishna all the time, and nothing in this world would disturb us in the most difficult situations also. Abhyasa yoga yuktena
Abhyasayogayuktena
chetasa nanya
Chetasananyagamina
paramam purusham divyam
Paramam Purusham Divyam
yati pardhanu chintayam.
Yati Partanu Chintayam.
Yeah, can anyone read? Can anyone read?
Yeah, Prabhuji. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me.
So this is like third time Krishna is stressing this. Imagine the importance of this process. The practice of bhakti yoga that we are all engaged in was such a foremost in the thoughts of Krishna himself. Whenever he is saying, he is repeating this. So now the third section, attaining the supreme. So as one leads life in this world, he goes through different experiences. Sometimes very negative experiences. So the pursuits of life in this pursuits of the world in this life, they make us realize that happiness is not going to be permanent in this world, or happiness is not going to be real happiness that we are really looking for in this world is not achievable. Then he realizes, because there is that innate desire to be happy, but the situations are such that it's constantly going making you experience misery and happiness, dualities of life. So then one really inquires, where is the real happiness? Then he seeks knowledge from the seers and understands actually happiness real exists in a different realm. In all religions this is talked about. No religion says, hey, continue to work hard, enjoy in this world, and this is where you should continue to live, build your so Jesus says, build your castle not in this world, right? The castles of this world are made of sand. Anything you build in this world is going to be destroyed in the over the time. So build your castle in the heaven. So how to attain supreme, right? And first thing is to understand this universe is actually like a university. And what does this universe dispenses? It dispenses life lessons, right? So that's the only correct perspective towards this world. Okay? So as spiritual beings, life in a complex world of matter is an incompatible situation. We can all realize, because we are spiritual in nature, the material world is an incompatible place. So slowly one inquires how he can attain real happiness. Right? So that is this section about. And then he is ready to pursue all different types of paths. There are many, many paths of attaining the supreme, and one practices all these different paths. One practices different paths. Right? So we see different painstaking methods in which different spiritualists conduct their lives in order to attain the supreme destination, because they realize this is not the world to be in. Right? They are ready to go through all the austerities and difficulties in their life. There are yogis who just never sit on earth. That's the austerity and pain they want to take. Because voluntarily, if you take pain, it exhausts your karma. Because before even the material nature teaches you, you are actually yourself submitting and taking pain yourself. So material nature will not give you any more pains, because you yourself understood that this world is not for my enjoyment. So that's the reason all these great yogis, they actually implicate pain on their body, showing that. So all these austerities, what do they represent? They represent that the yogis distaste for enjoying this material world, right? That's what this represents. Yogis do not want to continue to pursue the enjoyments of this world. So they want to give up all enjoyments related to senses and sense objects and engage in severe austerities to achieve the perfection of life. So Krishna says, once one attains through practice of these various spiritual methods, one when attains perfection, right, he will never return to the temporary realm again. So let's read few important verses from this section. Ananya cheta satatam
Ananya cheta satatam
yomam smarati nityasa
yomam smarati nishaya
tasyaham sulabha partha
tasyaham sulabha partha
nityayuktasya yogina.
nitya yuktasya yogina.
Yeah, can you read?
For one who always remembers me in creation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Gita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service.
Yeah. So Krishna talks about different methods, but towards the middle of it in the section, he tells the easiest path is to always remember me. So in the last section, which is devotion, so Krishna concludes by outlining the most important, the most effective process to attain the Supreme in this section. So Bhakti Yoga is that path. All of us already are aware and practicing. So the path of active service to God in a mood of devotion is described as the topmost spiritual path. Why is it? Why Bhakti Yoga is superior to other paths? Anybody wants to answer? There are, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga.
Bhakti Yoga is an elevator method, Prabhuji, which will take us faster to Krishna.
Yeah, elevator method. Why is it called elevator method? Yeah, correct.
The means and the goal is the same.
Means and goal is same. Yes, means and goal is same. Correct.
And then the purpose of all the other yogas is also to develop love for Krishna at the end.
Ultimately, without bhakti, nobody can achieve perfection,
Yes.
right? So every path ultimately has to incorporate bhakti to achieve perfection. No path can individually achieve perfection without incorporating bhakti. And what else? Bhakti yoga is the direct method, right? Somebody said it's the means and it's the goal. Yes. Any other points?
Another point, Prabhuji, maybe it's not exactly related, but it's relevant. So Bhakti Yoga we do under the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master and the shelter of the Guru.
Mm-hmm. Even other paths also can be done, bro.
Other paths.
Like Ashtanga Yoga or yogis also, there will be gurus.
Oh, is it? Okay.
There are, every path has gurus.
So with Bhakti Yoga, Prabhu, Krishna is at the center of all the activities that we do.
Yes, you directly take help of Krishna.
Krishna himself is talking about that as the most prominent way to reach him.
The easiest path, especially in Kali Yuga, right? Because this is the method for Kali Yuga, right?
And another point, Prabhuji, Bhakti Yoga, not any other yogas will help to eradicate the Bija and Kuta, but Bhakti Yoga is the only one which helps to eradicate from Bija and Kuta.
That's true.
The propensity for the sinful activities, which can be only eradicated with the help of Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah, what is Bija? What is Kuta? What is the difference between the two?
Bija and Kota is one is sinful propensity is the Kota, and Bija is the seed for the sinful desires, right?
Correct. Yeah, very good. So Kuta is predisposition towards sinful activity. Predisposition means, as a child, you won't exhibit your, karmic background that is in you. But as soon as situation is, situation is convenient or you have an opportunity to exploit, immediately that predispositions transforms into Bija, a desire, sinful desire. Just like Ajamila, he was a Brahmana, right? He was, serving Lord every day. He went to actually fetch firewood for sacrifice. But unfortunately, he has a very bad Kuta, predisposed towards sinful activities. Now, as soon as he saw the Sudra and Sudrani engaged in a sinful activity, immediately that Kuta turned into Bija. Bija means a specific desire to enjoy in a specific way. Right? So that desire, after that, what happens? Falonmukha. Third stage is Falonmukha. Means that desire fructifies, manifests in the form of a sinful activity. So that is Falonmukha. Kuta, Bija, Falonmukha, right? So, and then he acts, right? So sinful activity happens and then he falls down. So that's the cycle. Yeah. So Bhakti Yoga even removes it burns, the fire of Bhakti Yoga burns the seeds of sinful proclivity. Yes. For example, give me some examples where practitioners of other yoga could not deal with this. Some examples. And they fall down after practicing thousands of years.
Vishwamitra.
Vishwamitra. And
that yogi who did the tapasya under the water for many years.
Yeah, Saubhari Muni.
Saubhari Muni, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. So those are very, very good examples. Right? Yeah. So in the age of rampant materialism and temptation, coupled with our own weaknesses, right? Kali Yuga means people of weak mind. Right? That's what Bhagavatam says. I'm not saying. And lack of spiritual aspiration and a highly practical, powerful spiritual process is required. You need a heavy dose injection, right? So you need a vaccine that really works, stays strong, keeps you strong. So that is Bhakti Yoga. So through Bhakti Yoga, anyone can experience an incredibly fulfilling spiritual connection in a very short time, right? So all of us, it's not many years for us to give up our bad habits of, eating non-veg or drinking coffee. Many of us had these habits, isn't it? But we're able to give up very quickly, right? So that's possible because we are practicing Bhakti Yoga. I know of people of other pastors who could not control. They started, but again they fell down and started taking all the non-veg and all. So it is thus able to saturate our consciousness with in God. So once we saturate, we'll be sure to attain the supreme destination, regardless of the technicalities and intricacies that other process may stress. So all these processes, Krishna again talks about in this chapter also, but he again towards the end stresses on remembering him. So practicing Bhakti Yoga. And we also know in Kali Yuga, practically no other process is possible, right? Can any of us practice meditation in this age with family, children, and achieve perfection? There is no hope, right? There is no hope of any other process. So these are very some beautiful verses, not only from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. So let's read this. Prayenalpayusha sabhya
Prayenalpashashaba
kalau asmin yuge jana
kalau asmin yuge janaha
mandasumandamatayo
dasavandamatayo
mandabhagyahi upadruta.
mandabhagyahi upadruta.
Oh, learned one. Or can anyone read? Jackson.
Oh, learned. Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Max.
Okay. Oh, learned one. In this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed.
Yeah, you see that, right? This is the truth of material life in Kali Yuga, especially. Now let's read from this chapter. Sukla Krishne Gatihyete
Sukla Krishne Gati Hete
Jagata Saswate Mati
Jagata Sasade Mate
Ekaya Yati Anavrittim
Ekaya Yati Anavritim
Anyanya Vartate Puna.
Anyanya Vartate Puna.
Can anyone read?
According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back. But when one passes in darkness, he returns.
Yeah. So when explaining how different people will pass away, the yogis especially, Krishna talks about the importance of when they pass. Right? He describes about the time at which if one passes is going to attain goal. Even though after practicing all his life, the process of yoga, but by mistake, if he passes at the wrong time, he's not going to achieve perfection. But he reassures Arjuna that for those on the path of bhakti, that this is not something to worry about. In this verse, right? Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva
Vedeshu Yeshu Tapassu Chaiva
daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam
Daneshu Yat Punya Phalam Pradishtam
atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva
Atyeti Tat Sarvamidam Viditva
yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam.
Yogi Param Sthanupayati Chadyam.
Can anyone read?
A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
Yeah. So for one who practices bhakti, the results of doing all these other activities are automatically achieved. So we don't need to pursue any other path. So that's it. So this chapter is very short. Any questions or anything you want to discuss? Almost.
Prabhuji, one doubt. In one verse, it says one who passes away in the daytime and nighttime, right?
Correct.
So for non-devotees, if they pass away during the daytime, does that mean they won't come back?
No. So that's only talking about yogis, those who are actually sincerely practicing.
Oh, only for that's applicable only for who practices bhakti yoga, is it?
Correct. Ultimately, the reality is, what he remembers at the time of death, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So in addition to that, if if he's a practicing yogi, if he passes at the right time, he's going to achieve Brahman. So here, so that is to tell, if you practice any path, you are on your own, right? But if you practice bhakti yoga, you have my help. So these yogis at the time of death, they need not be remembering God, but still they will achieve perfection, right? If they are able to pass at the right time, right?
Okay.
So those who know the Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fury God in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of waxing moon, or during 6 months when the sun travels in the north. Uttarayana, right? The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, he is talking about mystic. You see? So a person who is practicing yoga. If he passes by mistake during smoke, right? There is smoke in the air, and nighttime also is not good. The fortnight of the waning moon, right? Or the 6 months when the sun passes Dakshinayana, right? So sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back. So he goes to higher planet, but he has to again come back to Earth. Otherwise, he might actually go, he will go and achieve Brahman. He doesn't need to. It doesn't say that he needs to remember at the time of death, because any other path, the yogi is on his strength. So he has to meet certain conditions to achieve perfection.
So Prabhuji, in that case, is Bhishma Dev is also a devotee of the Lord, right? Then why did
Oh,
he?
he is a Mahajan,
Yeah, he's
the
Mahajan.
greatest devotee. Yeah.
Why did he wait for a conducive time to leave the body? Because for him, all this doesn't apply, right? Because he's a devotee.
No, that is an external reason for any activity that devotees do, especially these great devotees. The reason he was staying up is so that he can, he has one duty for Lord, that is to speak to Yudhishthira, to relieve of his distress. So when Yudhishthira reaches, out of distress, Yudhishthira was feeling that, he has done a lot of sinful activities. And what happens to him? Krishna wouldn't answer to him. He would take him to Bhishma Dev and make him speak. So that was the internal reason. So after that is done, while seeing the personality of Godhead, right before his eye, Vasudeva, he will leave his body. So the whole arrangement is done like this.
Yeah, so then it was Lord's arrangement. Otherwise, he is not even needed to wait for this conducive time and all that stuff.
Also the other reason is external reason again. So he's a Chiranjeeva, means he can choose when he wants to die. Yeah, so that's not an option for any of us. So that's another reason.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Any other questions? So this is a beautiful chapter. Most of you are already, you might be reading regularly, but this is one chapter you can read more often. This entire 7 to 12 is like that, but especially 7 and 8 are very wonderful, and of course 15 is another good chapter, great chapter to read regularly. Okay, if nothing, we can end here. If you have any.
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, Prabhu, at the end of Kali Yuga, so this universe gets destroyed, right?
Correct.
And the creation starts immediately, or when does it start again?
So at the end of, you said Kali Yuga, or?
Yeah, Kali Yuga.
Oh, at the end of Kali Yuga, it's a very minor, it's a cleansing process, Prabhu. Just like, in the morning we clean up our home, right? So, this is called partial destruction. The act, so, it's, as soon as Brahma is again going to wake up in the morning, he's going to restart the process. No, not actually. That's not at the end of Kali Yuga. At the end of Kali Yuga, it's going to immediately start with some basic cleanup. So at the end of Brahma's day, there is going to be partial dissolution. Again, that is partial dissolution. Brahma is going to restart the creation again, because still the material elements are available to him.
Okay, so that's where I was not clear.
So there are
So
3 levels of destruction at the end of each Chatur Yoga. Very minor. It's like a flood. Kalki comes and cleans up the world, and there will be some time when there is no living entity, and then again Satyuga restarts, right? So that's like a very short duration. It's maybe a few centuries or a century, or I don't know. I don't know exactly, but it's considered the least form of cleaning.
so at that time, during the cleanup, where would all the living entities be?
So it's a short duration. I don't know about end of Kali Yuga thing. Generally, anytime when jivas are destroyed or or cleansed up due to flooding of waters at the end of day of Brahma, they'll all go back to the womb of the Lord, womb of Mahavishnu in the Kshirodaksa Vishnu. So they'll all go back to his womb. But I don't know about Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, that's a very short duration. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to speculate also. So that's what happens at the end of day of Brahma. Temporarily until Brahma is, going to restart the creation the next day. The jivas are temporarily placed in the womb of Lord, Kshirodaksa Vishnu, within the universe itself. That's not universal dissolution, right? So at the end of universal dissolution, the universe itself dissolves. So the Vishnu form goes back to Mahavishnu form, and all the jivas also go along with him. Right? They'll all go back to the womb of Mahavishnu himself. So that is going to be like millions of years. Again, until next breath of Mahavishnu, the jivas are going to stay there in a what is it called? Sleeping state. There is a specific name for that.
Unmanifested.
Yeah.
Limbo.
What is it?
Limbo or something, right?
Pradhan, Prabhuji?
Yeah, Pradhan is unmanifested, and Mahat Tattva is the active. So actually they'll go back to something like Pradhan form, and then when manifestation is about to start, they'll all get agitated and take up. What is it? What did I say just now? Pradhan and then Mahat Tattva. Yeah, Mahat Tattva. They'll take the form of Mahat Tattva where jivas are agitated, and then they will be, their karma pushes them to be part of a universe for material activities, and then from the body of Mahavishnu, from the pores of body of Mahavishnu, the golden globules come out in the those slowly they'll come from small form, they'll manifest into universes individually, each of them, and they'll be placed in the Brahman, in the right, so far distant from the Lord. And within each universe, again, Lord manifests himself as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And then from there, from his lotus navel comes lotus flower on which Brahma is born for the universal life. Will be taken care by that Brahma, the life of the universe. So he is the in charge. Brahma is going to take charge from there. Vishnu keeps on coming to maintain the world, but Brahma is the main in charge for creation. And Lord Shiva is the form of the Lord who is in charge of destruction. Right? So the three murtis will take over after that.
Right. So, Prabhu, if that's the case, then a jiva which is infused into a universe, so they will be with that universe forever until they get liberated, right? They won't go to another universe, right?
No. Generally, within universe, there are so many planets within this universe itself. So generally, jivas, actually, they keep coming to the same planet, and same neighborhood, same, different, same country sometimes. Many people are born in, because of their attachments, they're born in a neighboring village, or they continue around there.
Yeah,
If they're
from
attached
one
to
they won't
country,
go from this universe to another Garbhadaksha Vishnu's creations, right? They would just be staying in the still
yeah,
same.
yeah. There is no need, because the one universe will provide all varieties of enjoyment for them. So,
Right.
so basically, it's like, when do you go for a continental tour? You never want to go to Arctica. That's a based on one's desires, they'll be placed in a specific universal situation. So they will continue to stay there. That universe is sufficient for them to fulfill their desires.
Got it. Thank you, Guru.
Yeah. So everything is a repetition. Nothing is special. We think, oh, computers, all this innovation, no, this is all there in the previous Kali Yugas also. It's not like a new thing. All this artificial intelligence technology, this is all nothing new. Everything is just punastarvita charvanana. Nothing in this world is new.
Prabhu, follow-up question on that. So you said that when Mahavishnu breathes out, the universe comes from his pore.
Yeah.
Right? When he breathes in, the universe goes inside his pore.
Yeah.
So that is one. What is that duration called, Prabhu?
That is called Divya Yuga, right?
No, Divya Yoga is within the context of one universe. That has a term. I don't remember on top of my mind.
So is that like several yugas after? I mean, one day of Brahma is.
Mataji, that is one lifetime of Brahma. That is equivalent almost.
Okay, so with when all the universe, I mean, when Mahavishnu breathes in, the universe gets inside his pore is a lifetime of Brahma.
Yes, I mean, it's little more than that, but you can
imagine. I mean, context to
breathe in, breathe out is lifetime of Brahma.
Okay, and then next Brahma takes the post.
Correct. I mean, you're also a Brahma at some point in time already. It's not like something new. All of us have been Brahmas at some point already. Because it's mentioned that, yeah, that's the truth. So all of us.
How is that, Prabhu? Because we don't have qualification even to do some simple things. How we could have been Brahmas?
Because that way, when you come from Vaikuntha, this is like talking about millions of lifetimes, right? So all the jivas are given the opportunity to become Brahma at some point. And most likely before they come down to lower forms.
So in that case, then when does that karma start, Prabhu? So for to be in a role of Brahma, you should have some pious deeds to get to that Indra post or Brahma post. You should have done so much.
Correct. It's not that always one starts from low to become Brahma. One can start from high to become Brahma also, right? When somebody, when he was leaving the Vaikuntha, he's extremely qualified, but he has a small desire, right? Then he will be given the post of Brahma. In fact, I heard every living entity initially starts very high. Just like, if suppose you are the son of the richest man, like you say, let's take the example of Ambanis, right? You all know Ambanis in India. They're the richest people in Asia now. So one of the son is Anil Ambani. When he started on his own after death of his father, he was owning companies, right? He starts rich because he's the son of the richest man. But unfortunately, he failed in businesses back and time and again. And now he's in debt. Instead of being the son of a rich man and starting out with so many businesses that are running very well, right now he's almost like jailed, and his brother saved him right now. So that's his state of affairs right now. So everybody starts big, but it depends on how he conducted himself, right? Because
Yeah.
Jiva has his own free will to choose what he wants to do. Most likely, many Jivas actually, after taking Brahma's post and realizing, just by living the life of Brahma itself, they realize, because every day they have to create this universe. They see the miseries of the Jivas. Immediately they realize, and actually they start focusing on going back to Godhead. Many of them start there and end there and go back. Many Brahmas actually, even current Brahma is a great devotee, right? So that's why if somebody goes to Brahmaloka in this current universe, even then they can go actually back to Godhead with him at the end of lifetime of Brahma. So our Brahma is very qualified. That's why he's also a guru, right? So, but not everybody is like that. So our Chaturmukha Brahma is very qualified person. That's why Krishna himself comes and teaches him lessons because he loves him. But doesn't mean that every Brahma is like that. Every universe Brahma is very qualified and they do achieve perfection after their lifetime.
Okay, Prabhu, then just another follow-up question. So when we start in that high position, so when does that karma starts? Is it that at the time when we start, at some point we are starting, at the time there is no zero karma at the time?
No, you already have kuta. When you start in this world, you already have kuta. Kuta means some desire to enjoy in this world, right? Some kind of a proclivity. Without proclivity, you are never here. Because of your individuality, your free will, you develop some kind of a tinge of a proclivity to enjoy in this world. So you are sent to the material world, whatever form, right? Form is secondary. When you are in this world, you have that proclivity. Now you can expand on that while enjoying in this world. At that time you can connect to Krishna also. You have both options. If you try to enjoy in this world more and more, you will continue in this lifetime. So, and then you can keep on increasing your karmic balance.
So, but that is when we come here in this world, right, Prabhu? The karma, we have some desire, and from that it starts all the good, bad karma. But when you said when we start as Brahma. Like, I mean, that's what you have heard, that we might start in a higher role as Brahma. Like even during that time, we might have karma.
Yeah, because Brahma's post is such a big post. It's like the head of the world, right? Naturally, that proprietorship is there, right? So there is a chance to fall down. So, because the whole challenge comes because Jiva is very tiny, right? He's tiny, but he assumes, because of his false ego, he assumes he's big. Then there is a chance to fall down, right? You agree that? Like,
yeah, yes.
Then, because the Jiva is not all powerful, but when he was given the power, he comes under the he falls under the false ego, so he gets trapped. And so, as Brahma, he was thinking, Brahma Vimochan Leela, right? We all hear. Who are all these Brahmas? He was surprised because he was thinking he is the lone creator of this universe. And there is no other Brahma in this existence itself. To cut down that pride in Brahma's head. Right? We should not even say that because Brahma is our Guru Parampara. Right? Madhvacharya never, you know about Madhvacharya, right? He comes in our Parampara, Madhvacharya. So whenever, the only topic he wouldn't talk is Brahma Vimochan because he's our Adi Guru. We should not talk much about it. But in ISKCON we talk about it just as a lesson, right?
Okay, Prabhu. So I think I'll end with one last question. So is it like when we have zero karma, that is when we go back to Goloka? Like no negative, no positives?
Yes, everything, all debt has to be cleared here only. Nothing to take it back. You cannot take any karma. If you have, it will hang on to you and give you a form. That's why
So
should
that
not
means
have
that in spiritual world, there is whoever is there is no karma for them.
zero karma for them, because that's why you should not have at the end of life, when you're about to die, you should not have any enemies. Nobody should you should be thinking negatively about, or and always remembering God. You cannot have enemies in this world, because all these feelings are all because of enmity towards God. There is nothing. All the anarthas are manifestations of our envy towards God. All anarthas, pride, anger, envy, all these are manifestations of our envy towards God. So when you are able to clear off anarthas only, you can go back. There is no other way.
Prabhu, one question, Prabhu.
Hmm.
So in the same context, so we have heard this statement saying that if one has become a great pure devotee of the Lord Krishna, then the previous seven generations, the next 7 generations are going to be liberated, right? So in that context, does it mean that even though they have the karma, they are getting liberated?
No, it's not like a free pass, Prabhu. They are definitely given. Everybody has to wash their dress. They have to clean. They will be given great opportunities. That's what it means.
Okay.
It's not like just click of a button and they will be given a position in a devotee's life, family or something, so that they can immediately quickly work on their. They have to make a choice and they have to do their journey and they have to achieve the perfection on their own. It's an individual choice. Nobody will be forced to spiritual world without qualification, because the minute they go there, they feel envy towards people there, because they're all. If we are not qualified, if there is a chance that Krishna directly involves and cleanses the person, right? For example, the story of, these are like rare stories. Putana, because she has the inclination to serve Lord as mother, right? Even though she's giving poison, but because she tried to be like a mother, as part of sucking the breast milk, Krishna sucked out all the sinful activities also as part from her. So that is like Krishna's direct intervention, and and makes her like a nurse in the spiritual world. Can you imagine a person who can't kill him? It's a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam that glorifies the qualities of who can be more merciful than person who actually gives the position of mother in the spiritual world to a person who is ready to kill him.
Correct.
So who can be more merciful than a person like that? So yeah, generally everybody has to work too. Yeah, because they have to make a choice, right?
Okay.
Any other question? Thank you all, and sorry, I might have little heavy. I'm a little bit of a direct person, so if my words were not nice to you, sorry. I did not mean that in my message to the group. I just wanted everybody to be taking it seriously. Of course, you're all serious. You might be busy with other things. Just let me know in case you cannot attend, because I want all of you to be part of this and learn this. And this is something you can all present. I'm going to share all these presentations, and I'm sure these are going to help you in your own sharing with others. Right? That's the reason I said like that. Okay. Okay, so we'll end the class here. Thank you all.
No worries, Prabhu. We don't feel offended. We are good.
Sometimes we need the nudge, Prabhu.
Yeah, actually, we need that once in a while.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So we give you all the rights to do that, Prabhu. You don't have to feel.
Yes, Prabhu. We need this actually once in a while. It's good.
Thank you all. Okay, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.